What similarities does the Zoroastrian religion have with Christianity, Hinduism, and Islam?
Well, I think this is a good time to talk about your project, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think the universal green is very similar to what, in my mind, I have always called the common thread. And I think the difference, I think we're very much on the same track. I think the only difference is that I think you feel that there's, or this program feels that there is that one single green in everyone and everything that is the same. Whereas I think in Zoroastrianism we're taught that Asha, which we talked about earlier, righteousness and the laws of righteousness are like a thread, and it is woven through all of creation. So everything that has come to be with through the laws of Asha, and it is like a common thread. And we are not all exactly the same, but we are part of this big cloth called the cosmos, which is woven with Asha, and we all have that fundamental truth behind us. So every religion, having said that, every religion, I shouldn't say every religion, I mean the 5 major religions. So they believe in the same things. One absolute being. They believe that God created the universe. They believe that God is just, eternal, merciful, omniscient, omnipotent. But the more important thing, I think, for us to concentrate on is that each religion says that the practice of religion is necessary. And the practice of religion, what we are taught in our religion, is that it has 4 levels. So at the bottom, or foundation, you can say, is the moral code. Then the next step is prayers and rituals. I don't know which one comes first. I think they're both together. And then once you've crossed those steps, you come to a certain truth. So if you can look at the 5 religions, you can imagine a 5-sided pyramid, for example. And you can see that they all start with some fundamental moral code. And they have their own rituals and prayers that help the individual develop that moral code, that particular moral code. And then when they reach the pinnacle of that, through the practice of their religion, they'll reach certain truths, and then they'll be on the path of truth. So this 5-sided pyramid, I would like to take a moment to actually talk about each religion, if that's okay. So if you look at a pyramid, we talked about the 5-sided and the steps going up to a peak, and I would like to say also there's the upside down of that. So there's a force pulling us upwards, there's a force pulling us downwards. So wherever there is one good virtue, there's an equivalent negative virtue. And that negative virtue I'm going to call, just for the sake of convenience, a face of ego. So right now we're talking about 5 religions, and I'll talk about 5 faces of ego. So if I can talk about Christianity first, when they start on the bottom, they're developing a virtue. Their primary focus, although everything is important, all virtues are important, but each religion focuses on a particular virtue. So if you talk about Christianity, the particular focus is of love and forgiveness. The opposite to that, the opposite force to that is, of course, hate and revenge. So they are working on suppressing this hate and revenge. And they're working on it with love and forgiveness. And they're working up that pyramid. And their rituals and their prayers, when practiced together with that, bring them to that pinnacle of where they can now have certain access to truth, divine truths. I will move around that pyramid and we'll go to the Jewish faith. So in the Jewish faith, I think the primary focus there is silent suffering for God, acceptance of His will. The opposite to that would be hurt, jealousy, and rebellion. So here they are combating that face of ego with their prayers, with their rituals, and they are working up that pyramid to the top. I will continue around and I'll say, if you are Muslim, Muslims main focus in life should be servitude to God, service to God. The opposite of that, of course, is selfishness, working for oneself. And that is also something that they have to work on. Their rituals, their prayers help them work on that. Continuing around that pyramid, you're looking at Hinduism. And as a Hindu, one would have to practice detachment, primarily. Of course, everybody has to practice love and forgiveness and everything a little bit, but their primary focus is detachment from the world. And the opposite to that is attachment to materialism. So you can see that their prayers, their isolation that they go through, if you're becoming a yogi or something like that, I don't mean in general public, but that isolation that they practice, to remove themselves from attachment to the world, helps them overcome that face of ego, overcomes that negative force that's pulling them down. And on the fifth side of that pyramid, you come to Zoroastrianism. And as a Zoroastrian, we are to practice absolute purity. So purity, or ashoyi, is what we call it. And the opposite of that is filth, decay, death. And so we are, our rituals are very strenuous in many ways, especially for a priest. And they go through all kinds of things to make their aura pure. That is if you're a priest. But of course, on the regular basis, we also have to practice certain things to help us maintain a level of purity. So people do not understand why, why is it necessary, why is it such a burden if there's a fallen hair where you're saying your prayers? Well, because we're concerned with the most minutest energy forms at that stage. And we are worried that that fallen hair, whose life is now ended and is beginning the process of decay, there is a certain negative emittance from that. And even that negative emittance, we are supposed to be concerned about and make sure that these things don't happen. So all of us have these rituals, and it brings us to a path, brings us all to a point where we have a better communication with God. And as we move up that pyramid, each religion also, automatically you begin to develop the qualities of the other religions, but your primary focus when you started was that of your own religion. And I think that is the main thing that we have in common. All the paths are considered to be part of Ahura Mazda's plan to alchemize the spirit, and you can see here how the spirit has been alchemized. So it's like a process of alchemy, and that the laws of Asha still work through all of these religions.